Fegley's Brew Works is an American cuisine and microbrewery located on the north side of historic Bethlehem, specializing in craft brews and beer-infused cuisine. At one of the most difficult times in the history of the city of Bethlehem, the Fegley family entered the brewing and restaurant business. The Bethlehem steel plant had been shutting down slowly for years, a dying industrial giant of a bygone day, and the region had been suffering the loss hard. The downtown had also been bled by the malls and box stores that promised savings to the consumer in exchange for genuine local culture and community. Yet, on April 15, 1998, despite the adversity, and the same day that the historic Hotel Bethlehem had declared bankruptcy and closed, the Bethlehem Brew Works optimistically opened their doors to the public at the corner of Main and Broad. Led by brewmaster Brew along with assistant brewers, the Bethlehem Brew Works produces more than 1,000 barrels yearly for the consumption on their premise. To create their beer, the first thing that needs to be done is create the mash. They do this by mixing hot water and malted barley, or grain, in the aptly named mash tun. The Brew Works kettle and mash tun sit proudly in the front window, so you can see the brewing process as you wait for your own pint. Their serving tanks and fermenters are also prominently displayed throughout their restaurant to give it a brewery feel. Similar to a brewing tea, the color, flavor, and body of a finished beer are determined by the different types of malt that are used throughout the process. During the mashing process, starches are converted into sugar. This sugar water, produced in the mash tun, is strained through a screen and transferred into a kettle. This sweet liquid is called wort and is boiled. During the boil, hops are added to give bitterness, flavor, and aroma. The wort is then cooled and transferred into a fermenter. At this point, yeast is added and fermentation begins. This is where the signature taste of their beer comes from. Over the next several weeks, the yeast will then break down the sugar, and the byproducts become alcohol and carbon dioxide. This type of yeast also influences the flavor characteristics of a finished beer. The fermented wort is now beer. The beer is then transferred to the serving tank, and during the transfer, a beer can be filtered or unfiltered. Filtered beers strain some of the yeast and leave a clear beer like the Fegley's Amber Lager. Others retain yeast to give it another flavor complexion, much like their Steel Garden Wit. Then, straight from the serving tanks and into their pints, glasses, and bottles, these beers are served in-house and shipped to a variety of bars in Pennsylvania, as well as numerous distributors in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey. In addition, all bottling is done on-premise, and up to 500 cases of beer can be bottled and shipped within the regular working day. In addition to having a state-of-the-art bar and pub area, seating, and bar, Bethlehem Brew Works also includes the Steel Garden Lounge, which hosts a variety of events, including stand-up night, and has hosted numerous famous guests, including the current president, Barack Obama. The Brew Works has been a catalyst for change in the Bethlehem area and has sparked the continued resurgence of the growth within the North Side. Once the only restaurant, Fegley's has continued to pave the way, creating jobs and bolstering the local economy. Fegley's has served as so much more than a brewery and a restaurant to the Bethlehem community. Rather, they have served as one of the region's premier economic leaders and have helped to save what was once a city on the verge of economic collapse.